Well, a very good morning, and of course to you watching. This is Smart Men's Business, your daily Kickstarter, and of course today is the final day of the week, guys. It's a Friday. I am excited when it's always a Friday because I know you could be excited as well because at the end of the day, people are going to go and have some rest and prepare for the Monday. And given the fact that we are wrapping up the week on Saturday and Monday is going to be second, well, it's a good way to begin the weekend and of course to begin the month within a weekend. Anyway, my name is Masi Kitsime and I'm going to be taking you all the way to 9:55 a.m. Get it? Today is the 29th of September and it's a Friday. We welcome you to Smart Business, your daily Kickstarter, and I am with Batman Godwin and we're going to be talking matters relating business today. Good morning, Godwin.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Smart means business. It is the end of the week. Can you imagine it's already Friday? So we've had 4 months in September and it's already, I saw the roads were so packed. I'm assuming everyone is rushing to get paid. Rushing to type in your last report very quickly before the salary comes in and before the reviews are in. So I'm sure the jam is going to be crazy. The traffic update is going to be intense because I saw a lot of jam on the way from Access Road. Otherwise, we have a lot of conversations we're going to have today, especially regarding the innovation startups in Uganda and what is the innovation ecosystem as it stands in Uganda. So very informative topics today on Smart Means Business. It's been a pleasure.
Well, don't forget that the markets of Zabu, we are proudly brought to you by Zabu. And of course, I tell you, if you want to invest in government bond securities, Zabu says you don't need to go and hassle. All you need is your smartphone, phone, or your capability phone or button phone, whichever phone of your choice. Just dial *292#. And that is the USSD code, but they're telling you investment is as low as 15,000 again in shillings. But then they have maturity periods from 0 to 2 years till 20 years. So if you feel that you have a lot of money on you, you feel, you want, somewhere to keep your money and it keeps on growing, you can invest with Zabu. And of course, today is a Friday and Zabu is going to be operational from 8:15 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. and of course they're proudly powered by Alltech East Africa, telling you to do something new. It's the year 2023 and of course Zabu says your money is indeed your future. Of course today, like Godwin said, we're going to be talking about other innovations, the innovative startups that have actually come about in Uganda, those that want to see the progress, given the fact that we're talking about science, technology and innovation yesterday, we want to have a follow-up on how far we've gone with innovations. I'm talking of innovations and of course our performance is not that much compared to other countries, but then with time we've seen some of the innovations come up, some startups come up. For instance, fintech. Most of you know fintech. It's a financial tech company. It includes everyone. So definitely we have a lot of startups that have happened over the years in agriculture, in commerce, in health. There are many startups for those that.
Yes, so it's a very huge conversation regarding the innovation and startups, especially for Uganda. These are topics that very excite me because I like to see any innovation regarding our country and seeing how best we can sort of bolster our economy in any way. So we're seeing here Uganda's innovation startup ecosystem is thriving with the new companies emerging all the time. We have a few companies that are emerging constantly, right? Of course, some of these startups are using technology to solve some of the country's most pressing problems. So we see here from financial inclusion to healthcare, as Masi just mentioned. So some of these examples on top of fintech, we have Numida, which we know is a huge platform, a digital lending platform that provides loans to small businesses and farmers. So if you're on YouTube, I think you can already see the Numida adverts and people giving their testimonies. Someone who started like a pharmacy with one room and now he's expanded because of the Numida help that they got from Numida. So that's huge. We're seeing businesses like Tugende. a motorcycle leasing company that helps people buy their own motorcycles. I think you can find it along Naguru. That's where the office is. So it helps people. It lends people. You can start a business with Tugende, and then you start to pay off slowly, of course, with a bit of interest.
Motorcycle business.
And in Uganda, the motorcycle business thrives.
Yes.
Some people even use only borders and not taxis.
Yes.
We know that people survive on only borders. We can testify.
Because borders are the quickest.
They're quicker, and you don't want to wait in line. Yeah. So these are huge startups for Uganda. We're also seeing here like things like Ensibuko, so a mobile banking app that makes it easy for people to send and receive money, save money, and pay bills. Okay, that's interesting. We're also seeing Cheaper Cash. I personally use Cheaper Cash. It's a huge startup. I use it when I'm paying for because it has a virtual card. So I definitely use it when I'm paying for Spotify. I use it when I'm paying for online platforms like Netflix. I always encourage people, do not use your actual bank card to pay for some of these online purchases. If you're doing online shopping and you're an avid online shopper, I would always encourage you, use a virtual card. I think Airtel has a virtual smart card that you can use, but Cheaper Cash is cheap. There's no expenses on it besides the one you're paying for. There's no interest. It's completely safe and easy, so I don't have to use my bank. You know the reason why I'm saying that is sometimes when you put your own account, your bank account, and they've paid you, and you're subscribed to Netflix, Spotify, they'll automatically just take your money without telling you. But on the virtual card, I can just put enough for what I need for them to take off. So in case the next month I don't have, it warns me saying there's no money on that virtual card, so I place it on. So it's just a way to track your finances, right? And then we're seeing things like Rocket Health, and you talked about the health aspect, right? An online pharmacy and healthcare platform that provides affordable and convenient access to medication and healthcare services, especially in a state where most people don't have health insurance.
Oh, by the way,
people do not have access to health insurance. People don't have the jobs that give them access to health insurance. Some of these jobs don't even have health insurance provided.
That most of these health startups started in COVID-19?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because people were not allowed to move. So you'd have the app, do all, prescribed for you. Then you just, maybe call someone, Safe Border or something, to get you the meds.
Yes.
And
that's a very good point, Mercy. In a way, COVID-19 almost allowed us to think outside the box and address the real problems. What COVID-19 did is it was highlighting the problems that we've been having regarding health, regarding access to healthcare, regarding food access, because people struggled to get food. People couldn't survive people weren't eating in COVID, so that's why the beans were supplied to every single person. Rocket Health became a priority. Health became a priority amongst the youth as well as the adults, not just the adults. We started to take care of our health and make it a priority. So we're seeing more people investing in health insurance because of this. And Rocket Health is one of those startups that is important. We also have Yunga Technologies. So a local rescue digital network that connects neighbors to neighbors. Imagine that. And their neighbors. So this rapid response units.
Yes. Community, like you get to know your neighbors.
Very, very important. Ugandans don't like speaking to their neighbors. You can live in a community for over 60, 30 years and you've never spoken to half the people in your neighborhood.
And actually these groups are really good for security purposes.
Very, very important.
Just imagine you're typing in a message and someone is awake that time. And like, oh my goodness. So
someone strange in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that is important, Mercy. It's personal for us because neighborhood watch is important, especially regarding the safety issues that we're facing with these border attacks on the increase, with these thieves coming and robbing into houses. There's so many reports about this. So if you're in a neighborhood, especially with this younger technologies, what I'm seeing is you're able to connect with the neighbor. Your neighbor becomes your keeper, your brother's keeper, like neighborhood watch, like they have in the States, right? So with a neighborhood watch, you're able to see suspicious activity and you're able to report within the group. And you're also able to help each other in case of like you don't have sugar, you're out of food. You can connect to the neighbor, you can talk about a business plan. It's always important to connect with your neighbors, and most Ugandans will befriend a stranger before their neighbor. So this is quite important. We're also seeing Easy Matatu is another startup, an electronic platform, that connects commuters to convenient, reliable, safe, and clean public transport. I think this is mainly best in Kenya or East Africa. So this electric platform allows people who are commuting to know where the easiest clean and public transport is.
By the way,
can you imagine that?
We forgot to talk about Safe Border.
Yes.
Now Safecar was celebrating 1 year.
Very, very good one. Yes.
Yeah.
I love Safecar. I love Safe
Border. I think
Border.
that is one of the things that has really, when it comes to transport, that is one of the transport startups or something that has really catched fire
It has caught so much fire that they had to transport. Do you know that safe people even keep their money on safe border?
Yeah.
People keep and transact. It's like a
Wallet.
bank. It's literally like
Yeah.
a banking platform. People can withdraw. They now have centers where you go and withdraw. And no, safe border is not sponsoring this segment yet. But yes, there's so many advantages to what they are doing, right? So we're seeing some of these latest trends, as you've talked about. This some of the trends in innovation include fintech. You've talked about fintech technology, agri-tech, health tech. Then education technology. This is another huge one, right? So we're seeing with ed tech, startups are using technology to improve the education system in Uganda. So ed tech startups are developing innovative solutions to help students learn more effectively. So teachers teach more efficiently and schools manage their operations more effectively. This is going to allow especially the students to be able to have extracurricular knowledge, right? You're able to, outside of school, outside of the classroom, you're able to have extra research that's done. There's extra resources that are provided to our children, especially since COVID. I almost feel like our brains, especially our kids, right? Because many of them had to now start at 19, they're in S4, You get at 21, they're in S6. So really, it almost slowed us down in the way in which we were learning, and worldwide, meanwhile, not just Uganda. There was a huge downtake in the way in which students were receiving information.
See, this is really nice because for most people, I think they now prefer online classes.
Yes.
They do prefer online classes. Someone's like, oh, you know what? How about I take up a job and do online classes?
Right.
I could study as I work at the same time.
And you know, online classes don't just apply to the kids, right? Even us, any person, you can now do an online course.
Yeah.
Even online courses abroad that are free, master's courses. There's many people now who are working whilst doing their courses. I know my brother who's at the bank. He's also doing his online courses as well. Every time he gets an off time, he does stuff online, and then they graduate. They send you like your certificate. You can either pay for them partially or even get full scholarships. All these things are available online, so that's very important. Yeah, and then we're seeing here the new trends are emerging all the time. It is an exciting time to be involved in the Ugandan startup ecosystem. So for anyone that's thinking about starting their startup here in Uganda, it's a huge ecosystem. The need is there. And whenever there is need, there's opportunity for that. So we're seeing, and there are many opportunities for entrepreneurs to make a real difference. Yesterday we were talking about investors and how the investment capital, the investment system here has been struggling a little bit because of high cost of investment. Is it plausible? But now we're starting to see that we're in an ecosystem now where entrepreneurs and investors can start to look at Uganda as a viable place to have their startups.
But anyway, just a few minutes before we get into the press review, though I would love to pose this question to you, Godwin. That okay, because I'm also wondering why we have less innovations in Uganda. Is it because we do not have the finances? You know, I could come up with Save Something or a medical something. Is it because by the time I innovate something, I'm not going to be rewarded as the much time I invested in there? Yeah.
And we're also seeing, of course, that's a very important point. We talked about some of these things. First of all, the high cost of investment in this country. The climate is quite high for investment, right? So people are looking at it like, is it worth it? And we don't really have, of course, there's limited funding. Because people don't have that much funding, they're thinking, I have an idea, but there's no one to fund it, right? And that's why it's important for us to have that consortium of organizations that can fund little startups, right? Invest in them. So we're seeing here innovation is expensive and startups in Uganda often have difficulty accessing funding. This is due to a number of factors, including lack of venture capital, as we talked about investment, and then lack of venture capital firms. So we don't have enough venture capital firms in Uganda, and the high cost of borrowing money. So you find that when you're trying to borrow money to have your startup, the high interest rate is incredibly high. You're borrowing 1 million, you end up having to pay 2 million. So people are seeing it as something that isn't worth it. So we have to be able to support these ideas. Some people have an idea for a startup, but they just don't have the funding, which is most people. So we need to be able to have these venture capitals in place to say, you know what, I love your idea, I believe in your idea, this is how much I'm going to invest in you, without having too much cost of borrowing as well. So we're seeing the weak infrastructure. As a last point before we go into press release, Uganda has a relatively weak infrastructure, which can make it difficult for startups to operate. So we're seeing, for example, the country has unreliable electricity and internet access, right? So which can make it difficult for startups to develop and launch new products and services. So if we have that unreliable, if we have poor infrastructure, weak infrastructure, you find that companies are thinking, can I sustain this? Can I sustain this company on this high cost of electricity or no electricity at all? And my company needs to run on electricity. So that's something to think about. Then lack of skilled workers is the last one. Uganda has a shortage of skilled workers, which can make it difficult for startups to find the people they need to build and grow their business. So we're seeing this is especially true for startups in the technology sector. In the technology sector, we don't have people who are skilled in IT, in ICT. We're talking about the AI systems and how the AI systems are coming on board. But Ugandans aren't upskilling in that respect when it comes to IT. So if you don't have enough of those skilled workers, it's really hard for someone to come up with that startup, like an IT startup of sorts or an app. You get it? Because they think we don't have enough of that. And then, of course, cultural barriers is the last one. But that's a conversation we're going to continue having throughout the day. Let's get into our press release.
Well, with me, I have the Daily Monitor, and it's very heavy, very heavy, very handy. Anyway, here, the top story here: government should own all land, says top officials, and of course, the Uganda Land Commission boss proposes rewriting of the constitution. This is.
I know it's laughable a little bit.
The Uganda Land Commission boss proposes rewriting of the constitution provisions, which says land belongs to citizens. With amendment now vesting ownership in the government.
Interesting, right? That's a very interesting topic that we're going to dive into a lot more. We're seeing here in the national news, Pride Microfinance partners with French agency to foster financial literacy. These are conversations I like to see. We're seeing here that Pride Microfinance has entered into a partnership with the French development agency, AFD, to strengthen access to finance for vulnerable groups, the marginalized groups as well. So we're seeing here, through the provided financial facilities, Pride Microfinance will be able to provide enterprise development, financial literacy, and business development beneficiaries, which is going to be such a good conversation, especially for the more vulnerable people and the more marginalized communities. I love this move by the French.
Into this story that I told you earlier, government seeking to take over all land. And now a top bureaucrat stoked fresh controversy after calling for a new amendment of the constitution to enable government assume ownership of land across the country. Will the people be willing?
Interesting, right?
The acting chairperson of the Uganda Land Commission, Professor Nyeko Penmogi, reopened old wounds, as they said that the expropriation of private real estate remains the answer to difficulties in acquiring land for important infrastructure projects. Now, once the government takes over the land, he said, the country can finally bring an end to costly delays in project implementation arising from the time-wasting compensation negotiations.
That is interesting conversation right there. We need to get deeper into that. We're also seeing here that President Museveni says Africa will be far in a short time if we link through markets. So we see here President Yoweri Museveni has revealed that in a very short period of time, Africa will be far ahead in terms of development if countries link through the market and add value to their products. Especially now we're continuing the conversation of value addition that we started earlier this month. He quotes, I think the African people should see how to resolve the issue of linking the market. What I produce, you buy, and what you produce, I buy, right? So that's very, very interesting conversation. And then he said that we empower one another through market linkage, Museveni said.
Well, of course, I'm seeing here China hails its mutual growth ties with Uganda. And of course, the Chinese government has hailed its relationship with Uganda, saying it is built on mutual struggle against imperialism while promoting development. Now, this was during the celebration to mark the Chinese 74th anniversary since its founding in Kampala. And
I think, Marcy, you're going to particularly love this next conversation. We're seeing Uganda tops East Africa as most rewarding economy for investment. That's an interesting conversation here. We're seeing here that the Africa Risk Reward Index for this year, compiled by Oxford Economics Africa, has ranked Uganda as East Africa's most rewarding economy to invest in after posting one of the biggest positive movements in their overall risk reward scores between last year and this year. Uganda's stellar performance does not stop at the regional level. The country also emerged third most rewarding economy in the broader African context. So that's very interesting news for Uganda. As we talked about earlier, the climate for investment here is huge, right? And it's continually growing, as we talked about the startups earlier.
Well, right about now we're going to go into traffic, and of course we are the access road right about now. As you can see, those that are coming in from Garden City, that way from actually Fairway, Garden City, from Wandegea, you know, checking that route. You can see it's a Friday, and of course traffic is not that much. It's movable, it's flowing, it's going.
Yes, we are seeing it slightly moving, but I came through Access Road this morning, all the way from Yenga, Kabalagala Road. The jam was quite heavy along that area. So if you're coming from that side...
But you can see judges right there.
Yeah, so your judges are packed, right? But of course, I think people are trying to get to work earlier. So I think what's happening is people are starting to move earlier. The following advice, start to move early in the day. So everyone is moving early in the day, hence the jam. However, we can see they've stopped the borders at one side, but the jam seems to be moving. And now the Ginger Road has been released. The roads should be moving smoothly. So if you're to move along that area, the jam has seemingly cooled off.
Well, of course, those that are coming in from the city center, I don't know. But people that are coming in from the city center, all the way that side, it's movable. Actually, there are not very many cars that come from there, because I mean, you would be coming from there. You would be going. If going was, it would be understandable.
There's so many cars that come from that side, but I think they moved much earlier, because earlier in the day there was so much jam, and that's the road.
Partying and
No, Muyenga has a lot of people that stay. Kabalagala, Muyenga, and Zambia, Chibuli area. So people came from that area, but I think they moved earlier. And there are also many trucks along that road. You know, 6th Street, 7th Street, so many trucks. But now we're seeing it steadily moving and steadily progressing. But there is a little bit of dust in the air, as you can see. The air is foggy and dusty. So I would encourage you to please move.
Construction taking place.
Yes. The air does not seem clear or clean. So please move with your handkerchiefs and with your masks.
It's really very funny early this morning for the dust to be up.
It's incredibly high dust. I don't know if it's the roads, the poor infrastructure we talked about
Obviously,
earlier. The roads keep
where else?
completely.
What else? Which other reason would be? We would be say a truck of dust
passing by. The roads have become more dilapidated. I think we have to look into the quality of construction in our roads, because that road itself, as you're seeing, Access Road, Mercy, has about 6 potholes.
Huge ones.
Huge ones. So remember, there's jam and there's potholes. That could cause accidents. If the borders are jumping into a pothole like this, so when there's water and it's rainy, you have a puddle of mud in which you've gotten into. So it's very, very risky. But as you're seeing, as cars are coming from that side of Ginger Road, continuing all the way to town area, the road has been released. The jam is steadily, the cars are steadily moving. Of course, the borders have been held, but the cars are moving steadily. So it's a perfect time to move, because I'm pretty sure as it gets towards 8 a.m. and 8:30, the jam is going to become heavier, considering you have to remember it's a Friday. So if you look there now, the roads are steadily coming in heavy. Again, because it is a Friday, it's important to remember. I don't know if all the kids are safely tucked in school or it's still a school week.
It's already 7, it's getting to 8 actually. So I believe they have to be, for some kids start class at 7.
Oh yes.
So by like a parent should be at school by 6:30.
Yes, they should, because along Green Hill, I think that's why there's so much jam, because there's Green Hill as you go that side up. When you go to Chibuli Road, there's Green Hill. And there's so many students that are in Green Hill. I think that's why the earlier jam was there.
Wandegea Road, there is Makere, there is Makere College. So I used to think probably there is a point where all of them gather at once and, you know, cross at once. But then they come very few, 2, 3, and it's not good, because they stay far from school and then they have to cross the road. And the road is busy in most cases, and they have to wait for like 10 to 13 minutes.
That's a very important point, right? If there was a general bus where all the kids could meet in a particular area, so that parents don't have to struggle taking their kids to school and then getting to work on time. I can imagine being a parent in this morning, in this period.
You are
just the hustle and bustle of the morning.
You are going to be one, and you're going to be waking up at 4 every
It will mean waking up 2 hours earlier if we have to wake up early for this 7 a.m. show.
You have to prepare the kids, you know, and they're lazy, like, oh, I don't want to go
No, imagine us doing a 7 a.m. show and then you have to take the kids to school. You have to wake up at 3. My God, because we wake up at 5:30 just to get
No,
here.
you get someone to do it for you.
Yes.
There is
Oh my
there are
God.
these shuttles or buses or vans that take kids to school.
Right. And I know many parents don't have that luxury of being able to afford a maid, especially in this economic time. So they unfortunately have to take their kids to school as well as get to work. So I commend all parents
Younger kids
that are able to
like
do it.
Nursery
Yeah.
kid is not supposed to be at school by 7.
Yes.
That's too early for them.
They go normally at 8. Now, those, especially parents who have kids like in P6, P1, P5, P4, Green Hill, they're there.
So those are
And in this
mature.
economic crisis right now, everyone is counting every penny. Yeah, you can't tell. Maids are now like 200K a month. So people are thinking about all that. So we're seeing there, as we're coming from Ginger Road, there's a bit of a halt. There's a traffic officer. But do not be afraid. The road seems to be moving steadily. However, there are more cars on the road as a few minutes earlier. So as you see them, once you see many borders like that and many cars on the road, just know that by 8 a.m. On a Friday, the jam is going to be very, very heavy along Access Road and the road going to Bukano side, going to Chibuli side and through 6th Street as well.
Well, that is it for the traffic update. So if you're coming in from Muyanga side, you're coming in from Kabalagala, just know there is a little bit of traffic. You'll be caught up there. Just 2 to 3 minutes and you'll be running again. And of course, at 26 minutes past 7 a.m. we are still here driving you all the way to 9:55 a.m. So coming up is East Africa and what is happening internationally. But anyway, don't forget that we are proudly brought to you by Zabu. So if you want to invest in gaming bond securities, they're telling you no hassle. All you need to do is actually dial *292# and for the prompts that is the USST codes, you can learn about the product. Or you could go straight to the bonds. So the maturity periods in which you want your money to mature, and we maybe have some profits in there. But anyway, Zabu is operational from Monday to Friday except for public holidays and weekends. So don't expect Zabu to be open tomorrow if that's only free time you have, sorry. But anyway, from 8:15 a.m. to 3:15 p.m., that is when Zabu is going to be available for you. And of course, they tell you your money is in the future, and powered by Otex East Africa, telling you to do something new. It's the year 2023.